He just wrote a piece that has been pinging around the internet like samizdat. It's responding to President Trump's immigration remarks, and he joins us tonight. Andrew, thanks a lot for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Tucker, for having me.
This is one of these pieces that probably 1 in 3 of our viewers got by text this weekend, but I just want to read the first line, which kind of crystallizes it. Nothing scandalizes a leftist like the truth. That's your opening. What does that mean?
Well, the left has been tremendously successful in making the statement of simple facts seem rude and evil and unkind. So if you come forward and you say, well, men and women are different and have different desires and different career paths, if you say that African Americans commit a disproportionate amount of violent crimes, if you say that Muslims commit a disproportionate amount of terrorism, suddenly they rear back and they start to call you a bigot. They start to say you're racist or sexist or Islamophobic or whatever, until the statement of simple data, things that are just factually true, become unexpressible. You're not allowed to say them. And I don't think conservatives fully appreciate the power of that kind of mental slavery. Conservatives are not very good with culture, and we don't understand the way it wraps itself around your mind and keeps you from saying the things that you're thinking.
But shouldn't all American citizens, regardless of political party or philosophy, just by virtue of being American, demand to live by the standard we always have lived by, which is truth as a defense? You may not like it, but if it's true, I have the right to say it. Shouldn't we stand by that?
Yes, and it usually, you know, it used to be that the First Amendment and the fact that Americans just tend to be kind of loudmouths and say what comes into their heads, that used to protect us. But the left has been exceptionally good at making sure. I mean, look, we've learned just last week that Twitter is shadow banning conservatives. We've seen how Google fires a guy who states something that's politically incorrect. We've seen Prager University videos banned on YouTube. We know that there is this massive, and when conservative speakers go to universities, they are met by violent resistance. Even if they're very intelligent people like Ben Shapiro or Charles Murray, they're met with violent resistance. The left is very intent on silencing right-wing opinion, and it's very powerful. I mean, you look over what's happening in Europe, where their immigration policies since the war have virtually destroyed their culture. People who come out there and say, well, you know, maybe Islam doesn't fit in England, maybe it doesn't fit in some of the Scandinavian countries, are destroyed. They're made into pariahs. As a result, we saw how in Rotherham in England, at a conservative estimate, 1,400 little girls were raped by Pakistani Muslims because the police themselves didn't want to come out and call them out and say they were afraid of being called racist. So they allowed this atrocity to continue. One of the things that I see when I look at Donald Trump, I'm a very polite guy, and I'm a guy who doesn't like to offend people, just like most of us. One of the things I see that actually works for Donald Trump is his rudeness and his boorishness actually have shattered this prison of political correctness that the left has managed to construct. And I think that's the reason that every word that comes out of his mouth and every tweet that he sends out is such a scandal. I mean, if you turn on CNN over the weekend after his remarks about Haiti and African countries, every one of their anchormen was crying, you know, their little trembly lips and the misty eyes, because it was so intolerable to them that Donald Trump was not restrained by their definition of what's cruel and their definition of what's impolite. This is a network where Anderson Cooper called ordinary right-wing Americans, he called them teabaggers. And now when Haiti is insulted, suddenly Anderson, his lip is trembling and his eyes are all misty. It's a form of bullying. It's simply a form of social bullying. And I'm grateful for Donald Trump for shattering that, even when he does it in ways that I find kind of appalling.
Yeah, I agree completely. Societies that hate themselves this much tend to collapse, and so I'm glad you're fighting against that tendency. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks a lot. That was really a great piece.
A pleasure.